Hello everyone, Bart Barker with Wilson County Schools. Hope you're doing well this evening. Well, this afternoon, Governor Bill Lee making his recommendation that all school districts throughout the state remain closed for the final weeks, the rest of the way of this current school year amid continuous widespread concerns involving COVID-19. It really shouldn't come as a shock to many of us out there on Governor Lee's recommendation today. There's still the awareness is still very, very high on this virus, and rightfully so. So the main thing is to stay healthy and to do whatever you need to do to keep you and your family healthy during this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Director of Schools, Dr. Donna Wright. We're going to link up with her tonight and get her thoughts about when that recommendation came down this afternoon. What was her initial thoughts, reaction to that? Also, some reassurances as we move forward against these unprecedented times that we are in, and also get some feedback, some advice from her on how to proceed for all of us as we continue on the would-be end of this current school year. Even though we aren't in classrooms, hey, learning never stops. So let's link up with Dr. Wright. All right, Dr. Wright, Governor Lee releasing the announcement this afternoon, schools closed to the end of the year. That was his recommendation. Our district will fully comply. When the announcement was made, what was your initial feeling and reaction?
Well, I guess it was, sort of a multitude of emotions. It was one that I guess we were anticipating, but we needed, what I would say is closure, as far as, we're, 3 weeks, 4 weeks out until would have been the regular ending of the school year. And so knowing that we were already closed till April the 30th, and knowing that the governor had already given somewhat of a notice that he would make an announcement today, it was one that, would we like to go back to school? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And would it be a relief if the governor went ahead and made the decision that schools would be closed for the remainder of the school year? That would have been a relief as well. And I say all that simply because that, as a reminder, we lost 2 schools. Mm-hmm. And so it would have been one that we would have reverted to the emergency plan that we had crafted within 5 days after the tornado. And it would have been implementing a split schedule that would have impacted 4 schools for a short period of time. And so that would have been a hardship in itself right there, just not only for the kids, but also for families, because again, that would have been a short-term adjustment to end the school year. So relieved because it gives us more time to make sure that we go ahead and get ready for the next school year, but also to give assurances, to particularly to parents, that just because we now know that the school year has been officially closed doesn't mean that we end the reach out as far as teachers still working with students, still reaching out to them, giving reassurances, whatever we need to do, particularly for those students that are still making up work, students that are trying to play catch up. Because again, I remind everyone that even prior to the tornado, we had a number of absences because of the flu. Mm-hmm. And so there's just been a multitude of events that we have faced. And this really gives us a time to not only to catch up, give reassurances, but also to remind parents that just because we do end on May the 21st officially, that doesn't close school for us, because we're going to continue to provide contacts, outreach, whatever we need to do to not only support our students, but also support our families. Mm-hmm. So I will put more information, Bart, out later as far as to give that reassurance to families now that we have an official closure of schools for the remainder of the year. That will allow us to even come out with some more detailed plans of support for students and families.
Is there anything involved that you're thinking in terms of like summer school opportunities? Or that's been a common question that's come in since the Governor Lee made his announcement this afternoon. Are there any organized learning opportunities that you see happening in the summer or possibly school starting earlier in the fall. There's still a lot of unknowns for the virus's sake, but where's your mindset right now when it comes to those types of questions?
Well, and again, not that we weren't, either way anticipating what the governor might propose or present. The thing that we need to look at from this point forward, because again, school rolls out again for the new school year, August 1st.
Right.
Close thereof. And so we always, when 1 year ends, we're already planning for the next year. Mm-hmm. And today we had meetings, remote meetings with elementary principals, middle school principals, and high school principals. And part of that, the conversation very deliberately was, okay, what do we do to make sure that as we move into that next school year, it's more than just reviewing, but how do we look at every student, where they are at that point before we start integrating or bringing in new material to be learned. And that's one thing that we were very much committed, and there was universal understanding that before we launch into new material, to make sure that we more or less quickly assess where students are at that point in their learning, and what do we need to reintroduce, review, and then move on to new material. And again, but that's typical of any school year, even after the summer, as far as we do that anyway, but even be more intentional, more sensitive to that. Now, going back to what you said originally with the question, where and what will we do from this point forward? We're going to continue as far as, we've got those learning platforms, and I am sensing a new comfort with parents now that they know where to go to not only access the resources, but also know that, don't try to reconstruct a classroom. Mm-hmm. It's simply not feasible, and you'll lose your mind doing so. And I keep telling parents that. I said, we don't make them sit all day long, so please don't make your children sit all day long. Let them play. Let your teenagers listen to music. Break up what could be monotony for your student, your child, and give them some time, because again, this is a whole different landscape for everyone, including teachers, and so we'll make our way through this, but we'll continue putting resources out there. Our teachers are going to continue to stay in contact with students, but the thing I also want to impress upon parents: should you be should there be a question as far as, I've really not had that much outreach from the teacher or the school, and I'm really getting concerned. Please do not sit there and worry over that. Either contact your principal or contact me. I need to know that. It might be a breakdown in communication. I don't know. But if it's something that you're really concerned that you've not had a lot of contact, you feel like that you've been forgotten, please reach out to the principal or to me, and let us see if we can't either patch that, make a connection, whatever we might do, because I don't want anyone worried or concerned that no one's been working with their child, or at least checking on them to see if they're okay. The second thing too, there was already the concern about grades. What are we going to do about grades? And again, the State Board of Education came out with their rules. They were approved on April the 9th. They're going to be filed with the state office, and they go into what, I don't want to say law, but that's what all school districts will operate from. And so they ended, as far as officially, the grade calculation on March the 20th. But because of our unique situation and the tornado, our last day in school was March the 2nd. And so we will roll back and use, I'd said originally March the 10th, but we're going to roll it back to March the 2nd as far as calculations. And no student will suffer as far as that. And every student that needs to either make up work, replace work, whatever it might be, those teachers are working with those students individually. As for seniors that were right on the cusp, as far as whatever it might be, that a course that needed to be completed, or not completed, but as far as grades earned, or needed to make up a test, or whatever.
It's on that bubble, yes.
And that's the term I've used, is on the bubble. The teachers are working with those students. So again, if if you've not had that contact, if someone has not reached out to you, please let us know, because we don't want anyone, again, with 19,000 students, I'm not going to tell you that we've not dropped it somewhere. And if you feel that that's the case in your situation, please let us know. And we're going to work through this, and we're going to err in favor of the student. I'll just tell you that. That's where we're going.
And overall, you said you had your principals meeting today. What has their overall demeanor been? I know you and I talked a little bit earlier, and you have given your full endorsement on how their reaction has been to all this. I believe your exact phrase was they've just been champions of character in every way possible. So just reiterate that a little bit. The principals have been phenomenal through everything, going back to the tornado.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one that, again, I'm amazed. And even, some of them have asked for forgiveness instead of permission. That's okay, because everything's been done in the best interest of their students. And that's what I want to see. And that's what I want to hear. And we're getting a lot of just amazing letters from parents and even from some students. There's been a couple, particularly from some elementary students, that are just precious because their teacher called them on the phone and those kind of pieces. But the thing I want to say that, this is a hard time. And if anyone's paying any attention to even the national news, that this online learning, this virtual learning, whatever you want to say, no one's perfected that. And we certainly haven't in Wilson County, because we have students that just do not have access. So our teachers and principals have been very creative about how they've really created some workarounds to get whatever they need to either present or provide students, including a great deal of encouragement. So yes, they're champions as far as I'm concerned, because again, there's no manual on this, and no one's given us a set of directions, and so we're navigating best that we can. But I'm saying that when you look at really now we're at 5 weeks, I couldn't ask for better than what we're getting from our educators, teachers, and administrators.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's I've been in communication with a lot of them as well, and that's been the case so far. That's just they're just so uplifting, and they've been able to take everything no matter what. When it comes to, we talk about our students, and I guess when that news came down from the governor today, I'm sure we had parents that, maybe they just wanted, I guess, some closure, for pun intended, they wanted some closure on what was going on. And it may be a relief to some, it may be added anxiety for others. What would what advice would you give these parents now that word has come down that schools will be closed? Because health and safety and well-being is the top priority through all of this, but we know that there's anxieties out there on the home front with our parents and guardians.
Absolutely. And I guess that's the thing that I just really want to impress, that not only the health, the safety, the security, the well-being, not only of the student, but also the family is so important right now. And certainly from all of us, and to say that we are not concerned as far as looking at this extended closure, I wouldn't be truthful, because I am worried. I am concerned. Part of it being that we're not, as assured as far as that everything's going to be okay at home. There's a lot of tensions that we need to be sensitive to and understand. Out of work, trying to make ends meet, trying to make sure that their children are not going to suffer because of missed classroom instruction, whatever. I mean, there's just a multitude of issues and events right now that no one could have even predicted this is where we would be today. And if there's anything that I can offer that families need some assistance or help, please reach out to us. We want to be sensitive. We want to make sure that if there's something that we've overlooked, and if there's something that we can just even give some guidance or direction on, please reach out to us. And so, if anything, Bart, I need to make sure that we are aware and we are concerned. This extended closure It's going to be painful in several ways. And I'm stepping away from the academic, the instructional side right now, because it's far more than that. Schools are a haven for a multitude of reasons. And right now, we're not able to offer that.
Right.
And so is there another way that we can not only become a haven even remotely, but if it's down to even just need to talk through something, giving some direction, as I said, or guidance, again, reach out to us. We'll find the resources. We'll find the appropriate people. And we're accessible. We are accessible. And well beyond the May 21st, last day of school, we will be accessible.
And along those lines, food service will still be there for area children. Our distance learning opportunities are being continuously updated. There's other opportunities that our families will be getting, again, through email and on social media and our website. Those resources are there, but those reassurances that just because that the closure is in place, these things are not going away. They never were intended to go away, and they're just going to continue even stronger now that we know that where we are at this point.
And if you need help navigating, because I know early on there was frustration as far as we're not teachers, we don't know how to make sense of it, and it was never meant to sit there and that you had to hit the standards. Those were suggestions as far as looking at points. And right now, as we give assurance, this is all about a review period. What did we learn this year? What do you know? Let's practice that. And I cannot overemphasize the need to read for enjoyment. That is a skill that you have to practice. I don't care if you're 5 years old or you're 18, even adult, you need to practice that. And there's so much that they can read for enjoyment. It doesn't have to be a textbook. It does not have to be something that is monotonous and boring. Because again, that skill, and I tell parents, always be there to prompt as far as with those intriguing questions, as far as what they're reading. What do you think? And when you start probing with those kind of questions, it really starts the cognitive juices flowing. And that's such an easy thing to do. It really is. And we can never do too much of that.
Lastly, as we close out here, you said something to me a little bit earlier today, and I thought a lot about it. And as you're sitting there at your kitchen table, I think it's only appropriate because, you take off the director of schools hat, and you've been a lifelong educator, and you said that this is a bittersweet day. The governor made the absolute right decision, and we know that. But you can't take that educator's heart away, and you know that these students, the best place that they need to be is in a school when it's during a normal school year and doing those school activities. Just elaborate on that a little bit. That was one of the first things you told me today when we talked.
Well, and again, it's maybe it is the educator hat, but it's also I'm a lover of children, and again, when I think about when you look at the structure of the routine that a classroom brings, and how children thrive in that environment, it's knowing that that's not been provided, and in many instances that is the home away from home, and and parents know this too. Our children spend a great deal of time, 6.5 to 7 hours a day, in a classroom environment. And so there is just a special magic that takes place as far as whether it's that pre-K student that is just getting involved in school to that senior that, when you look at just the wealth of what they have learned as far as that cumulative effort, it's there's something so special about it. And so bittersweet, yes, sad, and knowing that this is going to be a moment in time that will mark as far as how we remember things in 2020. And I hate that. I really hate that for our children. And I certainly regret that for our seniors this year. This is how we will mark time. And so whatever we can do to regroup and bring that back, I wish that I could. We can't.
Right.
But we can still make time as special as we can and make sure that our North Star right now are our students, our children. And even though we might be doing it from afar, they're very important to us right now, and there's not a teacher out there that's not thinking that just like I am. And I think about it. A teacher shared a note from a second grader, and it had to have been the sweetest note I believe I have ever read. But the thing that the salutation, and then then as she closed it, she said, "Just remember, this is from the sweetest and smallest girl in your classroom. I love you." And I thought, oh my, how special is that? The sweetest and the smallest. And so that's what keeps us going, and that's what we treasure. And right now, it hurts. It hurts.
It does.
But we'll return.
We'll return. And for those wondering about graduation ceremonies, again, that comes from guidance on national and state levels. When green lights are given that we can do things on a more grouped basis, that's got to come first. And then we'll make plans from there to honor our seniors, even though it's not in the traditional way that was originally planned in May. So
well, and as I said the other night to our special called board meeting, we might just have to go old school. And, parents will know what I'm talking about. But back in the day, we would all go to the football stadium and turn those lights on.
Now you're making me feel like old school. I graduated on a football field.
Well,
I am a little older now, so yes.
And maybe we look at the end of June. But the thing is that's a rite of passage that's so important. Mm-hmm. And it might not be a May ceremony, but maybe we get the opportunity to recognize our seniors at the end of June.
Right. Again,
and we might have to throw a prom or two as well. Who knows?
We always like a good gathering and an eating. That's part of being in the South, right? So
that's exactly
I know
right.
this virus is taking.
Particularly Wilson County.
That's right. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for the update, the reassurances. I know our parents and students appreciate that. And again, let's just all practice safe health guidelines and just stay well. How's that sound?
And reach out. Absolutely.
That sounds
good. Reach
good.
out to me if you need me.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Wright. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.